You've just built your new gaming PC. Now what? I'm Concept Soup, this is a pulse oximeter, and this is the only guide you need to get up and running. We're going to do it properly, but we aren't going to waste any time. We're going to keep it under 10 minutes from start to finish. So what are you waiting for? Let's go! So, you've built your PC, and now you want to know how to set it up. Don't worry guys, just like your mother, it's easy. But there's no shame in watching the video more than once to make sure that you get it right. You'll need just a couple of things first. Another working PC or laptop, i.e. not the one that you're currently on. You're also going to need a USB stick, at least 8 GB in size, but I would recommend 16 or bigger. We're going to use this USB stick to install Windows. You want to make sure that this USB stick hasn't got any data on it, or at least it doesn't have any data on it that is important to you, because it will get wiped. Ensure that this USB stick is plugged into the other computer that you're using. On the other computer, you want to head to Google, type in download Rufus, and you want to take the link to rufus.ie website. Scroll down and download Rufus Portable. Rufus is a tool that makes installing Windows as easy as possible, and it cuts out a lot of the BS in the install process. Trust me, I'm a doctor. Go to your downloads folder, open the Rufus file that you've downloaded. If it asks you to allow it to check for updates, please click yes, because that is actually very important for it to work properly. In the device heading, make sure your blank USB stick is here. Boot selection should say disk or ISO image. Next to that, click the arrow next to the select button and change it to download. Then click download. Choose Windows 11 and essentially just click through all the options here. No real need to change anything. Then click download and save the file to your downloads folder. This will take a while to download, so take a sip of something nice. It is Christmas after all. Once it's downloaded, Rufus will sort itself out for you so that all you have to do is click start at the bottom. But for completeness, just check that your Rufus looks the same as mine. When you click start, it will give you some options. Tick all the ones that I have because it will make the install process much easier, I promise. Click OK and the USB stick will be programmed. This can take a good 20 minutes, so take another sip of that nice drink that you had earlier, have a stretch, go and do something nice, say hello to your family, whatever. But once it's done, it will say ready in the green box. That means we've finished. Now you can click close and pull out your USB stick because now we are done with this secondary computer. Right, let's get ourselves set up. It's time to plug in. You first need to connect your power cable to the power supply and flick the switch to the on position. The on position is the 1 as opposed to the 0. If your PC has Wi-Fi, screw in the antennae. Don't plug your Ethernet cable in just yet. And I'd say even if you guys aren't using Wi-Fi and your PC has this antenna connection, just screw it on anyway, because if you're using Bluetooth, it can sometimes help with the signal there. Next, we'll hook up our monitor. If your monitor has both HDMI and DisplayPort, use the DisplayPort, but it doesn't matter all that much. Make sure it's plugged into the graphics card, not the motherboard. That's a rookie mistake that we can't afford to make. Next, plug in your Windows USB stick. Then you want to plug in our keyboard and mouse. It's really easy, guys. This isn't hard at all. Now that you're nicely set up, power on the PC. I remember my first time too, young man. It's a great feeling, isn't it? Seeing it all light up and come to life after all your hard work. Now, you might have to wait a bit while it does its thing, but you should see a screen with a bunch of text on it eventually. This is called the post screen, stands for power on self-test, but it doesn't matter. If it says, do you want to reset TPM, then just choose yes. So usually that just means pressing Y on your keyboard, but if you don't see this screen, don't worry, it's all good. If your PC hasn't booted, we'll need to do some troubleshooting, but that's not within the scope of this video. But comment below if you want help with that, and maybe I'll make a video on that as well. Now, once this is done, your PC should boot onto the USB stick straight away and present you with this screen right here. If it doesn't, you might need to access your boot menu, and the boot menu key will be different depending on your motherboard manufacturer. It's usually F10, F11 or F12, and you tap it as the PC starts up. But for most people, it should just boot straight onto the USB stick, provided you're using new parts all around. So on the screen that you see, you want to click install, and you want to follow through each step. You want to click I don't have a product key, but relax, we can add it later. There's no rush, you're not pirating. This is a perfectly legitimate way to do it. Choose your Windows version. If you don't know which one to go for, choose Windows 11 Home, because even if you want Pro, if you put a Pro key in, it'll all upgrade anyway. When you get to this screen, choose where you want your Windows to be installed. Be careful, if you have an SSD and maybe a secondary hard drive, both are going to be listed here, so look at the size to know which one to install on. If they're the same size, I would actually suggest powering down the PC, disconnecting that secondary storage drive just while we install Windows, because we want to make sure that Windows is going on the correct drive. The drives should just say unallocated space if you've got a new machine, but if it doesn't say unallocated space, that means there's data on there. You'll need to delete each partition on that disk to be able to install Windows, but be careful in case you have any important files on there. But for you guys going for completely new stuff, this isn't going to be a problem. Click Next and the install process will begin. Takes a while, take another sip of something nice, but don't get too drunk because guys, we've still got a little bit of work to do. But it is Christmas. Your PC will restart. Don't panic. We're going to get this fancy screen. Click I don't have internet, even if you do, and then click Continue with limited setup. We don't want to connect to the internet just yet, it's just the easiest way. Patience is a virtue, after all. Enter a username. I've put JCPC here to represent jcpccustoms.com, but you guys will just put your first name mostly. Then you can choose a password, or just click Next if you don't want to have a password at all. Because we've used Rufus rather than Microsoft's official install tool, we skip all the rubbish steps and we go straight into Windows after a short loading screen. Oh guys, it's so close, I can almost taste it. But there's still a little bit of work to do. Let's connect to the internet. If you're on wired, now is the time to plug in your Ethernet cable. If you're on Wi-Fi, click the network icon in the bottom right and connect to your Wi-Fi network. Let's click the Start button, then Settings. Go to Time and Language, Date and Time, and then click Sync Now. That's going to make sure our date and time is up to date. Click Windows Update and let it check for updates. Once you see some updates pop into the list, we're going to scroll down to Advanced Options, then Optional Updates, Driver Updates, tick all the boxes and click Download. Next, we're going to go to System, Activation, Change Product Key, and then you're going to put in your Windows license key there. If you don't know where to get a license key from, we've got some links down in the description for you to help you out. The next thing to do is download your graphics driver. Open up Edge, opt out of all this crap, and then head to Google. If you have an NVIDIA GeForce graphics card, search NVIDIA driver, find your model, download it, and then open up the installer. If you have an AMD Radeon graphics card, Google Radeon driver, download it, install it. Easy does it, almost finished. I'm going to leave the way I do it up on screen, but it's actually quite hard to get this bit wrong. Finally, we want to make sure we get the full speed from our RAM. You might have bought 3200 MHz, 3600 MHz RAM, but you won't actually get that full speed unless you enable this option. So click the Start button, hover over the Restart button, but don't click it just yet. We want to hold down Shift on the keyboard and then click it. Your PC will restart with some options. You want to go to Troubleshoot, Advanced Options, UEFI Firmware Settings, and then click it. We've now restarted into the BIOS, which is the settings for your motherboard, if you like. It all looks very scary, but don't worry guys, it's not too bad at all. Find the button for your memory speed. It might be called XMP, DOCP, or maybe Expo, but either way, make sure to enable it. If you're having trouble finding the option, refer to your motherboard manual. The other thing we can do is set up a fan profile. This is optional, but I think it's good. I generally set up my fan profiles like this so that they idle at 40% and then ramp up as temperature goes up. If you've got a liquid cooler, make sure you're setting whichever plug your liquid cooler is to approximately 80%, maybe ramping up to 100%. It's slightly different compared to fans. Then you want to save and exit from the BIOS. You should then reboot into Windows. Yeehaw! We've done it. You've set up your PC. You should be chuffed with yourself. You've built and set up a PC. Son, I'm proud of you. That's the end of the guide. This is just the basics for getting set up. Do you want me to do a part 2 with some extra details and tips? If so, drop a comment below to tell me. Or if you're just swinging by and prefer a more fuss-free experience, check out jcpccustoms.com, where we've got loads of pre-built gaming PC offerings that come to you already set up. Like, sub, yada yada yada, but never, ever, ever forget that this is a pulse oximeter, and apparently I'm dead. See ya, and Merry Christmas.